All right, let's just dive right into today's explainer because this one is pure nightmare fuel. We're going to dissect a deeply unsettling account of a late-night drive that turned into an absolute waking nightmare. We're putting you firmly in the driver's seat for a terrifying sequence of events where a totally isolated driver is suddenly guided by a glitchy, malevolent GPS and haunted by a mysterious figure right there in the back seat. It is this brilliant, terrifying look at how everyday technology and total isolation can combine to create just pure dread. So, let's break down exactly how this horror unfolds, step by step.
So picture this. The dread builds really meticulously. It starts at exactly 2:15 a.m. Our driver is heading home, completely alone on an empty, unlit back road. The woods around them are just pitch black. You know that feeling, right? It's that mundane, almost hypnotic isolation we've all felt on a long drive. Just the endless hum of the engine, those yellow lines flashing by. And to stay awake, they've just got the dashcam running and the GPS navigation humming along. It's incredibly calm. But then, at 2:16 a.m., that quiet is violently punctured by the sudden blaring burst of static from the GPS. And literally 1 minute later, at 2:17 a.m., the navigation system makes a completely unexpected announcement.
Out of nowhere, the voice says,
"In 500 feet, stop the car."
Think about that for a second. You're completely alone in the dark. You are relying on this piece of everyday technology, a machine you implicitly trust to guide you safely home through the pitch black. And suddenly, it gives you this chilling directive. There's no destination programmed in. There's absolutely no logistical reason to pull over. It's just a sudden, inexplicable command to stop in the dead center of nowhere, issued by this glitching, robotic voice cutting right through the heavy silence of the car.
And here is where a horrifying contrast really begins to play out. The difference between what the driver actually sees and what the car's technology is detecting. To the driver's logical mind, nothing makes sense. They slow down because looking out the windshield, there are absolutely no turns. There aren't any stop signs ahead. It is literally just miles of empty, dark asphalt stretching into the night. But inside the cabin, it's a completely different story. The car's internal system suddenly overrides the quiet night with a flashing, blaring red security alert.
Boom! This alert hits the screen. Rear seat motion detected. Your heart would completely stop. The sheer impossibility of that warning is paralyzing. The driver knows, for an absolute fact, that they locked the doors. They know they are the only living person in this car, but this punchy text hits the screen like a physical blow, just instantly shattering any illusion of safety and confirming the absolute worst fear you could have. They aren't alone in this vehicle anymore.
So the driver is forced into this terrible transition from feeling isolated to feeling sheer, unadulterated terror. Slowly, fighting literally every instinct in their body, they look up into the rearview mirror, and what do they see? Illuminated by just the faint, eerie red glow of the taillights, there's a dark silhouette. A figure is sitting completely silently in the back seat, and the most horrifying detail of all, it's staring right at the back of the driver's neck. A massive wave of ice-cold panic hits, and the immediate desperate reaction is to just slam their foot down on the gas pedal and get out of there.
But the very millisecond they touch that gas pedal, the GPS speaker crackles back to life. And the voice? It's changed. It's not that standard digital assistant anymore. It's deep, metallic, and totally distorted. It commands, "Do not speed up." It reacts to movement. This is the exact moment where the rules of reality just completely break down. The machine isn't just glitching, it's actively warning the driver about the malevolent entity in the car, essentially forcing them into complete and utter physical paralysis. The sensory horror of this situation becomes absolutely paralyzing. The driver freezes completely, wide eyes just locked on the rearview mirror. In that tiny reflection, the dark figure slowly starts to lean forward. You can almost feel the driver's hand shaking violently, gripping the steering wheel so hard their knuckles turn white, as this entity inches closer. And then, the smell of damp earth fills the cabin. Its cold, wet breath actually fogs up the glass right beside the driver's ear. This isn't a shadow. It's not a trick of the light. It has physical presence, terrifying temperature, and horrible moisture.
So, let's break down the mechanics of surviving this impossible moment. These aren't standard driver's ed instructions. These are survival rules born from absolute nightmare logic. Step 1. Do not speed up. The entity reacts to movement, so you have to remain entirely, agonizingly still, even though every single nerve in your body is screaming at you to run. Step 2. Endure the breath on the glass. You literally just have to sit there, paralyzed, listening to the rasping intake of air while something impossible breathes right next to your head. And step 3. Wait for the dashcam's final warning. The driver is trapped in this unbearable suspension, basically forced to wait for the technology to tell them what happens next.
Suddenly, the dashcam display starts flashing wildly. A final warning illuminates the dark cabin. The text on the screen violently pulses, "Entity sinking. Do not turn around." The situation reaches its absolute terrifying peak right here. The car's own system is recognizing the presence. Entity sinking. Like, what does that even mean? It implies this horrifying digital and physical connection being made right in that moment between the car, the driver, and whatever nightmare is sitting in the back seat.
And then, the metallic GPS voice drops its volume. The heavy static clears for just a brief second, and it whispers one last sentence directly into the driver's ear. Whatever you do, don't check the rearview mirror again. It is the ultimate terrifying cliffhanger. The immediate threat is right behind them, practically touching their skin, but the only conceivable way to survive the night is to willfully ignore the deepest, most primal human instinct to look at the danger.
So what's the ultimate takeaway from this chilling sequence? Well, we've distilled this down into a critical survival rule for your own life, especially if you ever find yourself on a long drive after midnight. If your navigation ever tells you to stop on a dark, empty road, keep driving. Just do not obey it. And far more importantly, no matter what you hear from the backseat and no matter what urgent alerts flash on your dashcam, never, ever look in the back.
Which leaves us with this final, really unsettling thought to close out today's explainer. Put yourself in that driver's seat for just a second. If you're driving alone at 2 a.m., miles away from anyone, totally surrounded by pitch-black woods, and your GPS suddenly glitches and tells you to stop the car, what are you going to do? Are you going to trust your own eyes, or will you trust the machine? Keep your eyes on the road ahead, everyone. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I'll see you in the next one.